Hi and welcome. I've promised to do a video on Windows and navigation, or views and navigations. So let's start from the beginning. Let's say we have nothing, and we have this single class with an attribute. This is all we have, and well, we have the definition of information, but we have nothing else. So in order to view this information, we need a view model. And let's do that. So let's do a view. This. And we say what kind of class it is, and when we have done that, we can add attribute 1. So that would be our view, since the debugger will or the prototyper, when a field is next to the end like this, it's expanded. So let's make this a little bigger so it's not next to the end. 2 by 2 by 3, I mean, like that. Okay, so now we have information and a view, but we don't have any way to get here, and that's where the actions come in. They should be here. So of course this is all repetition so far. Let's do a global action, which are the actions that show up in the main menu. And this global action, let's make it bring up the view model 1. So all we have said now is that the main menu should have an action called new global action, and it should bring up view model 1. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to run that like this. So we have the new global 1 action, and it brings up a view model. But this is a bit treacherous. It's a view model, but we don't have any object in it. We know it should be of class 1, but there really isn't any object of class 1 as of yet. And why is that? Well, it's because the view model root object expression is empty. So we really need to provide a object so that this expression has something to work with. Let's make this a bit clearer by adding a generic column with an expression that we say self is null. So that would be a boolean if and show a checkbox that would be checked if this is null. So is this really null? And let's make that a little bit bigger, like that. So refresh the model and new global action. Is this really null? Yeah. So that once is checked. So that's a problem for us right now. We need to fill the root object, but what should we fill it with? Well, let's try first to just do class 1 create. That would be okay. Then we at least will have one. So when the action is executed, it should bring up view model 1, but the root of view model 1 should be set to the result of this expression, class 1 create. So what happens then? refreshing the model, and then it isn't null anymore. So we're okay to write here, and that would show. Right. But we can do as many of these as we want, holding down Control while I press the action brings up another tab. So I can do this one and that one and this one, etc. That won't help much because there is actually no way to see them all or to open up a form with an existing class 1, right? So the only thing we can do is actually just create new ones in this view. So normally all applications and all system has some kind of a repository or a searcher where you could find things to start with. Maybe you browse all the things you have and you grab one of those. So let's do a view that is our browser then. I'm going to add a view model, and since this is going to be our browser, let's call it browser view and give it a type class 1. It's the only class we have currently, so why not? And add a nested view model class with fast pick class 1 all instances. What it does is add a generic column with class all instances, and it states the something showing class 1. So let's change this expression to, what do we have? We have the attribute 1, like that. So this would be a good view to show from the main menu. So if we just stand on it and say add a global action for show, what happens then is that this action was created. Let's see what it does. Actually, what did I do? I think I did the wrong thing. I'm going to press Ctrl Z for undo. I'll take it by the menu so you see what I do. Undo. And then it disappeared. What I wanted to do was to add not a class action for show. I wanted to add a global action for show, like that. So what happened was show browser view. It's named, and it brings up the browser view. And this one doesn't have a root object expression because it doesn't need one. Because it shows all class 1 instances. So returning here and refreshing the model, and now show browser view. This one will show all, but since I restarted the system with the model refresh, let's see what happens if I press the one that creates. Let's put AAA in this and BBB in that, and then we see that there really are 2 objects of class 1, and we can change this one here and see that they are really the same. But this was a limitation. We really want to be able to create things here. So let's head back to here and add a when I press this button, action definitions, the same action editor, action definitions form shows, but it's filtered on the view that I stand on, and it only shows the view model actions and the class actions that match. So this is a good way to reduce the amount of actions, as they might be many in the end. So what I want to do is to add a view model action here and say that this one can create new class 1 and object, like that. And the execute expression should just do what we saw before. Class 1 create. So if I refresh the model and show the browser view, I have an action that actually can create things. And now it shows on 2 levels, they will do the same thing. It's obvious here, it's on the browser view level and also on the all class level here. But I want to opt that out because that is unnecessary. So now we're on one object and we could write something here. What we want to do now is to open up one of these in our other view. So this one that we did at first, new global action, this one will just create yet another one. See, we have no way currently to open up this one in this. Well, if you really use the properties of the prototyper, you can drag this one to this green dot and then it will show it. So this is a way to change the root of a view like this. And you can see that it really switched the objects like that. Right, but we really want to add an action available whenever we have a class 1. And that kind of action is class actions. So new class action. Class actions will always pop up whenever you have a context of that class. So let's call this one create new. No, that wasn't what we wanted to do, or what I aim to do. It's view class 1 object. That was what I wanted to do. And this action should be on this class 1. And what should it do? Well, it should bring up the view model 1. In fact, let's rename the view model 1 to let's call it class 1 object view, and class 1 object view. So it should bring it up, and now we have a chance to set the root object to what we want. And what do we want? Well, we know that this is a class action, so it will only be in the context of class 1 objects. So that would be great just to set self in this case. And the required return type is class 1, because that is what the form, the view, expects. And the context is also class 1, because that was the class that we made an action for. So now we have a way to, let's do this again then. Model refresh, show browser view. Now we're able to, this one is disabled because there is nothing selected. I can create one, and if I select it, I can view it. Also, this class action is in two places, and I see this here, and that's because it's on this level, since this is class 1, even though it is not assigned, it doesn't require a root object. But it also on this level. So this first level will always be null, so I will opt that out and refresh and show browser view. So now I can create a new class, and when I select it, I can view that class, and I can write something, and I can go back like that. Create and view it and go back like that. So this is how you root and why you root windows or views. If we were to check this model, we will get some warnings, and they were fairly long. Let's see if I can get them on the screen. So there's a new global action warning. The view model does not require a root object. So this is just information to help us out doing the right thing. New global object. New global action. Let's go to this one. New global action. It brings up class 1 object view, and it sets the view model root object. If we go to this view, we see that we will assign a root to this, but it hasn't checked the checkbox requires root object, and that is what that warning is about. So if I do that and head back and check again, errors are gone. Super. So this is how basic navigation works when you work with MDriven. There are a few other things you can do with actions, but this is how you use them for navigation. You state what view model to open up and what root object, if any, it should have. Of course, we can do a few other things. So if we use the show browser view, or rather the view class 1 object, let's take this one. It sets the root object to self. But there's also an expression, execute expression on show. And what it will do is to execute this expression whenever the view shows. So let's experiment. Self, and we in this case we will be in the context of the sending of the receiving form. So the form has the current class 1 object view. It's the root, the variable representing the root. But we also have this strange variable, the sender, and that's the context from the calling action. So this is actually this self that, since this is a class action, is a class 1. So sender self, and this is what we set as the root. What if we were to set the attribute 1, and we would simply assign itself plus 1. What would happen then? Refresh model. Show the browser, create a new one. This is empty, but as we select it and choose the new one, it says 1. And if we go back and show it again, it says 1, 1. Because we have this execute expression on show. What are you supposed to use this for? Well, maybe you have some variable that you want to set, some context where you come from that you want to set in a view when you open it. Then this expression is great, but it does not in any way replace the root object expression. The root object expression is really important with working with views that are rooted. It's the only way to set a root on an object. Well, as you know now, it's not the only way, because you can also change the root by dragging to this dot. Okay. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Feel free to test these things out. This is the pattern that you will find recurring over and over when trying to solve real business problems. You have access to information. In this case, we have done it as we show all the objects of something, of a class, and from that you can navigate into some other view showing more information or details about that. And of course, from here you could jump further on in your model once it grows. So have fun. Thank you for listening.